Okay, we'll get to the Telegraph in a minute because there's a bunch of Irish rugby stuff in the Telegraph today, which is carried in other newspapers because of the fact that they're an agency, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes' time. So, Sexton knows beating the best could make him top of the world. This is the individual accolade that might be available to Johnny Sexton. Bowden Barrett obviously is the favourite for World Player of the Year. There's a feeling that his drop goal last week to seal the deal against England at Twickenham might have given him the nod. Crotty and Coles reflect All Blacks' respect for Ireland. It was a point that you were making that Crotty and Coles, of course, combined to score in the corner at the Aviva to break Irish hearts.
Yeah, it was
2013.
Quite pointed sending the two of them out this week. I thought it's like we're all about respect, but remember this time we broke all your hearts. It's what the All Blacks do. Every little point that they make or every little thing that they do is designed to make you feel bad.
So they're Machiavellian geniuses as opposed to like not caring, arrogant fools.
Yeah, or dickheads. Well, whatever way you want to look at it.
Right, like it's possible they're all of those things. We'll get into that chicanery a little bit later on in more detail. Hawthorn football is the club cause clause. Rising rule star Conor Nash and why AFL giants should compensate GAA clubs. I mean, it's not going to happen, is it?
It might do. It might come to a point where the GAA have to say, you know, we're going to need some cash for this. Who's going to actually funnel the cash in, and where does that cash end up? And there's only one place that can really kind of claim to be the true deserving end result of that cash, and that is the club. But I don't know. It's interesting that the players actually come out to actually say and support this, because it seems to have been something that's just, it was a kite that's been floated for the last 3 or 4 years and nobody's actually supported it. But interesting to see Conor Nash support it.
Yeah, it's hard to know because it kind of equates a financial value with the work of the volunteers and then with the individual players. So do the inter-county players then decide they want that money that's coming from the sponsorship that's not going back to the club? If you produce 7 players for the inter-county team, do you get more funding? Like, is that what the value, is that why everybody goes and volunteers and plays the game and shows up and washes the jerseys? It's just I get the point you're making, that somewhere along the way it'd be good for the GAA to get compensated, but it's hard to know if that's the right way to do it. Brexit plan to limit players from abroad. This is all going to work out really, really well, isn't it? This is going to work out really, really well. I'm glad they thought this whole Brexit thing through. Because, you know, if they didn't, it could really be a bit of a disaster. Premier League clubs will be obliged to ensure that at least half of their first team squads are made up of homegrown players under drastic plans put forward by the FA to deal with Brexit. Now, maybe this is the thing that turns it round. Suddenly Man City have to sell half their team.
What, Larry from the Football Lads Alliance suddenly realises that Alexander Zinchenko can't play for Manchester City anymore, and he's like, actually, this Brexit thing was a disaster.
Well, the only town that's prepared for it is Burnley, who were like, yeah, we saw this coming. We were the only ones paying attention. We've got our finger on the pulse. Burnley with like the strongest team in the Premiership because they've had to make 0 changes, whereas everybody else suddenly has like a goalkeeper playing up front because that's all they can field. Sturridge is charged with betting breach. This is Daniel Sturridge who's been charged. This is any person with any information relating to football or betting, you can't provide information if it is inside information. So apparently they've been investigating him for 10 months, and it's in connection with his move to West Brom. All right?
Yeah, I think so. It seems that Sturridge allegedly tipped somebody off about where he was destined to go. And in the betting markets, that's obviously one of the markets you can avail of in terms of transfers and inside information being used. So, you know, it's obviously something that the FA have stamped down on before. Joey Barton famously getting an 18-month ban. He was kind of betting on himself. I don't think there's any suggestion that Sturridge is betting on himself.
No, and like, so Daniel Sturridge is like, this clown Jurgen Klopp is sending me off to West Brom. That's a disaster. I hate West Brom. It's Midlands, it's crap. The highest ground in Europe, in England. And his mate goes and puts a lot of money on. Sturridge's like, I didn't know he was going to do that. It's not quite the same, is it? It's
vastly different, and I don't think he's going to get an 18-month ban somehow.
Lancaster and Farrell are ready to take on top job Brown. So this is interesting. This is Philip Brown. the chief executive of the IRFU, and this is a story from Tom Carey, a byline that you might not recognise from Irish Independent. It's actually a Daily Telegraph story, but it's a good one. It's not just about Joe and his career, it's about family, said Philip Brown. This is obviously their first choice, is that they want Joe Schmidt to stay, but he might not be staying. And then he said, if Schmidt does go, Farrell and Lancaster could come under consideration. They're both hugely impressive individuals. You only have to hear what the Leinster players say about Stuart and what the Ireland players and the Lions players say about Andy. So, whoever has either of them in their setup is very fortunate. We're very fortunate to have Andy.
We'll come back to that in just a moment. Just running through the rest of the back pages. Arch nemesis Sexton says Kiwi's intensity was sign of respect. He's talking about 2013 there. And O'Neill says only Obafemi can make call on a cap. Back page of the Herald is here we go again. O'Neill now has Rice-style headache over Obafemi, while All Blacks went over the edge, is the quote that they pick on the back of the Herald with regards to Johnny Sexton talking about the 2013 game. Not 2013, sorry, 2016. He's talking about All Blacks going over the edge. Back page of the Irish Daily Star is Oba to you. O'Neill to let teenager make call on future in green, while Sturridge is facing bet ban. And Butt has City fear. Nicky Butt says Manchester United face a mammoth task overhauling Manchester City as the city's biggest club. It's certainly very true. Back page of the Mirror is Sturridge betting shock. Liverpool striker denies charge of breaking rules over loan move. Well, we've got new tug-of-war drama for Obafemi, says Paul O'Hare, and Paul Ince saying United were terrified of Manchester City in the Manchester Derby on Sunday afternoon. Back page of the Sun this morning is nice and friendly. O'Neill says, I won't pressure Obafemi. While another story here in the back, Neil Ashton reporting that Jose axed if United stumble, reporting that Jose Mourinho will not survive as Manchester United manager if they don't make the Champions League this season for next season. So that's kind of an unsurprising story, kind of goes without saying. Back page of The Guardian then, Reds in peril, United have a daunting task to overhaul City, admits Butt. And you've also got a picture there of Wayne Rooney, who's all smiles. He's beaming as he joined up with the England squad before Thursday's friendly with the USA. Back in the squad at the age of 33.
Obviously a massive scandal in English football that they're throwing out caps willy-nilly to somebody like Wayne Rooney at this stage of his career. Glenn Whelan's leading out Ireland for, we're like, yeah, good man, happy days. Let's see, you deserve that.
Yeah, like it is. I think Wayne Rooney is fully deserving of his latest cap. Yeah. If you're the best player in the MLS at the age of 33, it's like there's something good to cling on to here. Not that the MLS is a great sort of barometer of where you're at.
But he's like an English legend. An absolute English legend. One of their greatest ever players. Now, okay, so I don't think he fulfilled his career, but at the same time, like, what's the big deal? Oh, it cheapens the friendly against the USA. This friendly against the USA, which is the most important game that anybody's ever going to play. It cheapens it. It cheapens it for the Americans. Imagine their dreams. They don't want to face this washed up has-been.
Imagine if it was actually a commercial decision that the FA were saying to themselves, well, the USA know none of our players, but they do know Wayne Rooney, who's a big hero stateside. That'd be a sad indictment of where English football is at, but it's for footballing reasons. You know, he deserves to probably get one, maybe two more caps. What is he on? Oh, he's going to be on 120 after this.
I know, this is the end of it.
It kind of rounds it off nicely.
Yeah.
And the front page of the Daily Telegraph sports section is England turn to Butler, batsman given key number 3 role as Root reshapes his test squad.
Okay. So, our breakfast menu. Refereeing the All Blacks. It's a bit difficult. Lancaster and Farrell are now officially in the running. The runners and riders are named and they are off in the Joe Schmidt Succession Stakes. Talk about Obafemi. The rule changes have been changed. That was one of the back page headlines on the Irish Independent, which I didn't get to. And Sterling showboat. Oh, Raheem Sterling ruining football again by really enjoying working as a professional footballer at the age of, 22 and making, 300 grand a week? It's terrible that he enjoys himself so much, isn't it? That poor Raheem Sterling. Let's start with refereeing the All Blacks. Oh, and what's the story? Why do the All Blacks always get such, nice, kindly refereeing?
Yeah, it's a good question. We'll actually let Johnny Sexton do the explaining here. He was speaking yesterday about Wayne Barnes.
I'm not sure. We pride ourselves on our discipline. We are coached to be as disciplined as we can be. We will look at a game, and after the game we will get not in trouble, but we'll be highlighted where we could have given away a penalty. So our discipline is probably on the list of importance up there, and we've come on the wrong side of Wayne Barnes in the past, so it's something we're going to have to look at even more so this week. Like we try to play by the letter of the law, but for whatever reason in certain games we haven't got that right with him, so we need to really have a look at ourselves and see how we can be extra vigilant there. We can't worry about them because that's their problem. But from our point of view, we've been penalised a lot by him in the past, more so than any other ref. So we need to really be, wary of our own discipline this week.
So he sidestepped the question a little bit, saying we can't really worry about them. Wayne Barnes, Eddie, has the reputation of having some strange days.
Yeah, well, look, he's around a long time, but I think his Achilles heel, in my experience with him, has always been that if a game gets very frantic, he tends to lose control of it very easily, and he tends to get whistle happy to calm it down, and he can often be very harsh in his calls. So if the game turns into a very kind of one of these very fast-paced, very physical games, as it's probably likely to be, I think he could struggle. He seems to lose his composure. He's very good on the law. He understands the law very well. He's a barrister by trade, right. So he understands the law. But I think at times, certain games, he gets a bit flustered, ironically, and he can be very whistle-happy and make very harsh calls. And I think that could be a problem on Saturday if the game opens up and it's very frantic and there's a lot of physicality, and if there's an edge to it then, like if it's a couple of late hits or something, and these games can bubble right on the edge. Yeah. I think it wouldn't be the best place for him to be. So it's about managing that, really, I think. And look, Ireland are probably throwing out there as well, like that message will get to him that we know that he penalises us more than any other referee. So like keep that in mind before you blow the whistle. It's a bit of a tactical play there by Joe Schmidt to get that out there, which is fair enough to do.
Eddie O'Sullivan absolutely hammering Wayne Barnes last night on Monday Night Rugby.
Yeah.
Hammering him.
And he deserves every bit of that hammering.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's great. It's great that, because imagine, Eddie, obviously, that's what a coach thinks. This guy, a little bit whistle happy, isn't he? Losing control of this game, overreacting to stuff. And now he's free to say that kind of stuff. It's great that we have Eddie O'Sullivan's punditry in the world to tell us the truth about what some coaches might think about Wayne Barnes.
Yeah, because we have a weird sort of complex with the All Blacks, don't we? It's like if they come to Dublin and they commit acts of thuggery, suddenly we should be flattered by that. That's the way the reporting seems to have been done in the last 24 hours, that it was Sexton in particular saying that, they showed us a lot of respect when they came to Dublin in 2016 after we'd beaten them in Chicago. What did they do in Dublin in 2016? They tackled high, they tackled hard. Laws have changed since then. I don't want to say that single-handedly resulted in changing laws, because, let's face it, World Rugby is not going to change laws to punish the All Blacks, but it seems to have had a serious impact on a lot of players. Of course, Johnny Sexton went off with a hamstring injury on that particular occasion, so he didn't manage to see the full brunt of it, but certainly from my perspective, it was like, why are these guys coming over here and exacting violence on us just because we've beaten them in Chicago? Is that just punishment being meted out for beating the All Blacks?
Welcome to the ball game, I think, is exactly what that means. Back to our breakfast menu, there's some things that we were supposed to talk about a little bit earlier on that we didn't get a chance to talk about.
Yeah, we were going to talk about Farrell and Lancaster.
Yeah.
So Philip Brown's been speaking to the Telegraph at some point this week, saying that if Joe Schmidt happens to leave, well, we've got two ready-made coaches, two Englishmen ready to step up in Andy Farrell and Stuart Lancaster, and we are going to be fine. Joe Schmidt leaves. Do not panic, Irish rugby fans. Lancaster and Farrell, one of which would be the men. I wonder, would they bring both of them in?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, obviously Farrell's already there, but would they bring Lancaster in with Farrell?
Asked whether Farrell's lack of experience as a number one might count against him, Brown suggested it would not. Andy's been in international setups and in the Lions setup, so they're both more than capable of stepping up. Pitting them against each other when you would suspect they're probably mates is a difficult situation for both of them. Can you find a way for them both to be, involved?
Of course you can.
Co-managers, co-coaches, co-head coach.
You leave Andy Farrell where he is. You keep everything the way it is. You just take out Joe Schmidt, let him go off to the All Blacks, and just insert Stuart Lancaster.
But not that Andy Farrell wants to be the number one at some point.
He probably does. Does he bow to Lancaster's superior experience?
I don't know. I mean, we're in a good spot when you've got candidates of that calibre who are familiar with the system and all of your players and how the whole thing works, as opposed to having to parachute somebody from outside the system in.
At what point does Stuart Lancaster forgive the IRFU? Do we have to be careful here that we don't let Eddie Jones get sacked before Joe Schmidt leaves? And Stuart Lancaster's like, well, we've kissed and made up, I'm going to go back to England. I would suggest that that relationship may never mend.
I don't know.
From an Irish point of view, being totally selfish, I kind of hope that relationship never mends.
I don't know. I mean, I'd say Irish rugby should do everything it possibly can to keep Stuart Lancaster in the system.
100%. It's easier when there's not
And Andy
another
Farrell.
job going that he might be interested in? Does he feel like a Call of Duty? There hasn't been much structural change that the IRFU has there. Like Eddie Jones obviously coming in post Lancaster, is he working in the sort of same environment that Lancaster had to work in, except for the intense pressure of a home World Cup? I think that it's relatively similar, so I can't see Lancaster actually jumping ship for that too soon. Like, what are the other jobs in the world that Lancaster would jump at? I don't know. Like, the thing is, if the Ireland job comes up, why aren't we talking about Leo Cullen?
Like, he's doing a brilliant job at Leinster.
Yeah.
So, and he seems happy there at the
Joe
moment.
Schmidt did a brilliant job at Leinster. Declan Kinney did a brilliant job at Munster. It's the next step.
Yeah, Leo's very early on in his coaching career.
He is.
So that's why you're not talking about it. It's like, also, I suspect, you can't put yourself in somebody's mind and go, he doesn't want to be the Ireland coach. I'm sure he does at some point, but like, let him experience all the rest of the stuff that you have to experience. And we have other people who have international coaching experience already. So you pass over Lancaster and Farrell and give the job to Leo Cullen, and then suddenly, Stuart Lancaster gets the Leinster job on his own? Is that your...
I don't know what it is. I just don't think that we should be totally forgetting the idea that, Leo Cullen, considering the season they've just had at Leinster, considering the way he's managed to park all ego and actually set up like one of the most winning cultures that an Irish province has ever seen.
And so maybe...
I think that delivers you into the position of being a candidate for the national job.
But so maybe Leo Cullen and Stuart Lancaster come as a partnership and
Maybe they do.
alongside. I don't know. But
Like, I'd agree, he'd be better served, like, from his own career in terms of waiting a few more years. But sometimes you just got to take the job when it's going. Like, we've spoken about this when it comes to Ronan O'Gara and stuff. Like, there will be a job for Ronan O'Gara soon. He's just got to jump at it.
yeah, I mean, it's not going though. That's the thing. Like, you take it when you're the only outstanding candidate. You put yourself forward. People are always comparing you against what could have been there, right?
Or when you are a candidate, you jump at the opportunity.
Also, I mean, after we win the World Cup, is that the best time you want the job? It's like, oh, you ruined our World Cup winning team. You didn't win it again.
Well, you always bring up this idea. You say that with the All Blacks as well. That Joe Schmidt wouldn't want the All Blacks job because they're going to be world champions.
No, well,
What's wrong with managing world
He
champions?
doesn't want it straight away.
You can't
I also think
postpone.
the All Blacks job is like vastly overrated. I mean,
Sport and coaching is too high risk.
it's nothing but negatives. Like, you're like, so we've won 3 World Cups in a row. The whole system is completely
I see that as a positive.
It's completely set up for us to succeed.
I see that as a positive.
If you lose a game, you're basically the worst coach that we've ever had. And if you don't win the World Cup, you're back to the
Steve
bad old
Hansen,
days.
the worst coach the All Blacks have ever had.
They're going to win the next World Cup. He's going to be the greatest coach
But he's
we've ever
lost
had.
games.
He's lost feck all games, and he's lost one game where they just couldn't be arsed kicking the drop goal. Like, it's almost as if they lost that game a little bit on purpose, because they certainly didn't make the same mistake twice. OTBM is live at Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. Check out Screwfix.ie for more information. Now, a couple of quick comments for you. Reacting to Gregor Paul a little bit earlier on. I'll get to those in a second. Sorry. The last thing that we wanted to talk about was rule changes being changed.
Oh, yeah.
So, there was going to be a sin bin for a second yellow card.
That's been changed.
Now there's going to be a sin bin for a black card.
Yes. So they've kind of taken a step back. To be fair, a sin bin for a second yellow card was absolutely idiotic. Like, what was the point of that? 2 yellow cards, it's a red card. Stay with that. We don't need to get more conservative in terms of how we deal with offenders on the pitch. Probably need to think a little bit smarter. And, fair play for thinking outside the box and saying that a second yellow card would be good enough for a sin bin, but no. Really, this is a better alternative to the second yellow card resulting in a sin bin. It's not the best alternative, however. The sin bin, is that going to be a big deterrent for people who aim to foul cynically and late in a match? Probably not. They will probably still continue to foul cynically.
So if you are in the situation, which is the stereotypical situation where you're the underdog Monaghan and you're up against your old nemesis Tyrone, and the best forward in the country is clean through one-on-one, but there is a swashbuckling, galloping midfielder coming back to make a tackle. Is Sean Kavanagh going to rugby tackle Conor McManus to the ground and take a sin bin with 3 minutes left to go or whatever it was Or is he going to let Conor McManus score the goal?
Well, obviously the former. He's obviously going to pull him down. That's my point. It doesn't really change the whole attitude. It's just you don't get 15 players on the pitch, which I guess is a relatively significant change, particularly for black card offences that occur earlier in the game.
Could we have a professional foul where it's an automatic penalty no matter where it is in the pitch?
That's not a bad idea. Well, yeah, I suppose you could. Like, there is big grey areas surrounding that.
If you're like, so if there's a covering defender, it's not a clean through. But if you're 40 metres from goal and you're the last player there and you're like Jack McCaffrey.
If somebody's clean through on goal with 40 metres left to clear on the pitch, in modern Gaelic football,
it's unlikely.
I will buy a hat and I will consume it.
Okay, Grant, but you get my point, right?
I get your point.
So, no need to be pedantic Pete. / prick.
That was just it.
Go on. So, clean through 1-on-1.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Grant.
Send them off as well? You can't have double jeopardy.
You can't have double jeopardy, right? Sin bin. Why can't you have double jeopardy? Why can't you? It's a stupid, like, oh, the game got ruined, the man got sent off. It's like, well, then you shouldn't have fouled him.
You can't have double jeopardy in this situation because they're both very severe punishments. A red card and a penalty.
A red card in Gaelic football is not that severe. Like, it really isn't anymore. Especially with 14 defenders.
Well, I would contend that if it was only one red card shown instead of two in the space of 1 minute in the All-Ireland final 2 years ago, Mayo would have won an All-Ireland.
Well, we don't know. We actually don't know.
Okay, we don't know.
That's what they're saying, right?
We're speculating here. We're talking about fake situations.
Yeah, but there's no evidence to suggest that Mayo team would have been able to see that through because they weren't able to see other things through.
Well, this was their best ever chance.
Well, they've had lots of other chances when they didn't kick 2 balls into their own net. That was their best ever chance,
and
right?
they came that close.
Yeah, but they didn't do it. So come on.
With the same amount of men, if they had an extra man, that little inch would have
maybe, or maybe not. Maybe they would have got complacent and gone, oh, should we have this now?
My point is that the red card is significant. Of course it is. It's
grand, but not so significant that you don't deserve it. Like, it's either the cynical foul is either a cynical foul, or you're like, you know what, sure, poke the head off him there, be a man.
But if you poke the head off him in a cynical manner, so if you're last man back and you poke the head off him when he's coming through, then it's a red card for poking the head off him and a penalty for the cynical challenge.
It's never going to happen.
So that's how you increase your double jeopardy when double jeopardy is actually merited. If it's a cynical tackle, you can't just be like, you automatically have to lose the game because of what you've done there.
Why not? Well, because the goal was going to lose the game, cost you the game anyway.
Let's face it.
Now you're giving the goalkeeper a chance to save the penalty. You're still going to do it.
Yes, but I think you're treating cynicism in a way that no other sport would treat cynicism. You're coming down way too hard on it. Cynicism...
How do you get rid of it?
To be honest with you...
You enjoy it. You like it.
It's who you are. It kind of has a place sometimes.
It kind of has a place. Grinta.
If a person is running through on goal, automatically then you have to say to yourself, right, that's it. Our fate has to be met. That's it. It's game over. We've allowed a person to run through on goal. Therefore, I have to get sent off and we have to more than likely concede a goal because there'll be a penalty. No, screw that. You make your decision and you say, right, I'm going to get sent off.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough. You don't get your goal, but I'm going to sacrifice myself. You can't have your cake and eat it.
Well,
as a Conor McManus bearing down a goal. The penalty would have resulted in a goal more than likely. And it would
have been the right thing. Justice would have been served.
I think it's either or. I don't think you can do double jeopardy on this.
But so what if they miss the penalty then? It's like happy days. I've got...
Risk from the defender paid off. It is a risk to
get the booking.
Like currently it's not a risk because there isn't enough punishment for that.
No, we get a sub on.
Yeah, but...
So they're reducing the number of subs as well. So I mean, they broke their hearts on that one. It's like... So you can't bring somebody on for the sin bin. This is really only going to matter in the first half an hour, 50 minutes, where that you'll have an extra man. You're probably going to be able to see that period out.
Like... I think, again, you go back to some of those All-Irelands over the last couple of years. Who was it got the early black card? Was it Johnny Cooper 1 year or was it James McCarthy, wasn't it? Like, that is a big moment if you don't have somebody else to come off the bench, particularly from there. And I hate bringing up Dublin again, but it's just All-Ireland finals are the most prominent incidences of this. That Dublin have an extremely strong bench. The black card actually benefits them more than other teams because they've got players of an equal standing ready to come off.
Yeah.
So I think it's a positive. I think it's a positive in terms of the direction that we're going. I don't say...
You think it's a positive when you're anti-Dublin bias here, trying to bring Dublin down a peg or two?
No, I think for every team who commits a black card foul should be punished more than they are currently being punished.
Cried the cat as it slipped out of the bag.